We've reached the end zone, and I'm not talking about football or a family restaurant. This is a normal, global nuclear disaster without all those zombies getting in the way. After 150 years of living in an underground facility, it's time to come back and rebuild the world. So you're starting from scratch to build up a settlement, but you have to contend with radiation, toxic rain, sandstorms, and droughts. Everyone's looking to you for leadership through this dark time. Endzone, A World Apart reminds me a bit of Banished, where you need to manage your resources carefully, and there's an optimized building pattern. If you're into looking at menus and managing bars, then you can lose yourself in Endzone. I did the time travel thing a few times, where you look up and panic how much time you didn't realize passed. Building an Endzone is incredibly simple, which is important in a city building game. First, the buildings are broken up into logical areas with sub-menus for food, water, housing, and more. This makes it really easy to find what you're looking for. Second, they packed a lot of information into the UI. For example, some buildings have a reduced efficiency when placed close together. A circle is shown around the building when placing it to make it easy to spot. And even if it's not in the main screen, then there's an overlay you can turn on. There's one for radiation, housing attractiveness, soil moisture, and electricity. I found out the hard way, no one wants to live next to a factory, but it's the end of days, so I thought they'd give me a break. Although you can take care of most issues by adding a little decoration to the settlement. The simplest layout is to divide the settlement between residential and working sections. They can get around quickly with roads, and if you keep your settlers happy, they'll move even faster. The most frustrating thing about your workers has to be how long it takes them to build something. It takes forever for them to collect all the materials. Perhaps it's my fault for not building more storage centers closer, but there are plenty of roads. I push the game into 3 times speed if I want to get anything completed. I am way more impatient than most people, so keep that in mind. It's just not very clear why a building isn't being constructed. I have waited minutes for something to happen. I think it's way too long. Another less important factor is the graphics. While it's not a bad looking game, the future has a smaller color palette, it seems, which makes all the buildings look similar. The important buildings are bigger and do look different, but the smaller ones kind of all blend together. Again, probably my fault for placing them so close. I can't find my temporary storeroom to upgrade it. Looks similar to a house. Still, it's not a major issue. Besides building, you'll need to manage your workforce by setting how many settlers you want to be assigned. For example, if you build a forester's lodge, there are now 4 new jobs to chop trees. But at the start of the game, you probably don't want or need 4 people doing the same task. Later in the game, when you need more wood, you'll need to build another lodge to create more jobs. It's all displayed in this compact chart, and assigning how many people you want to do the job is different than micromanaging each human. That way, when someone dies, a new person will fill the position. However, if you do run out of settlers without jobs, then it can't be replaced and you will need to manage it more. This happened to me when I forgot humans are a resource too. I didn't create enough housing for them to reproduce, and everyone started dying. Then I had to shift people around to make sure the most important jobs were still getting done. Moving on to research, and there are some buildings locked at the start. The research speed is glacial, and you only want to start it after the basics are covered. You need enough settlers that they're not going to be missed somewhere else. Upon building a research station, you'll start gaining knowledge. This can be applied in the tech tree, but it takes even more time for that to finish. You can speed it up with more settlers, electricity, or special items found on expeditions. Well, I guess we should talk about expeditions then. I kind of buried the topic, but it's one of the more fun mechanics of Endzone. A map has several interesting locations that you can investigate and loot once you build an expedition station. Your scouts will first check the location to determine what tools and expertise are required to send on an expedition. Then you get to select your team and equipment. If you're lucky, you will have everything you need, but if not, you can still go, although it will raise the risk of the expedition considerably. There's always some risk to the expedition, but I've completed most of the ones I've gone on as long as I made the proper preparations. It's fun to call the shots as your settlers explore an old house, going floor by floor, finding supplies and sometimes horrors. I wish the fail percentages were a little more obvious, but that would take away from some of the tension. Anyway, there are government mechanics in the forum building. For example, you can oust the older people from your settlement. I mean, they're just taking up space and food anyway. But it will make your settlers sad. Sometimes these difficult decisions are unavoidable, like food or water rationing. At the same building, your settlers can give you quests. These come with a reward, and it's usually something you're going to do anyway. For example, they might suggest researching something or building some more decorations to beautify your settlement. If you fail, settlers will lose confidence in you. However, if your settlers are happy enough, one failure isn't going to ruin everything, but it's best to choose the ones you know you can complete. And that's everything for gameplay, but you do have a couple choices on how you want to play. First is the tutorial, which took me over an hour to complete. Once completed, it drops you into a normal game with everything already set up for the tutorial, and that's the next mode, survival. This is generally where you choose a difficulty and try and survive as long as possible. There are many options depending on how you want to play. You can even choose to turn off a setting that makes the game more fair. The final mode, scenarios, is where you're going to find the most content. These set you up in a certain situation and task you with saving the settlement and reaching milestones to complete it. For example, Bleak Times gives you a failing settlement and you need to not only give it food and water immediately, but then set it up for a good future. The final thing I must point out is the survival guide. It's like the Civilpedia from Civilization. You can quickly find information in both. The survival guide even includes links, so if you need to get more information, the place to go is right there. You just click it and it's there. Yes, it's something so simple, but really saves the player a lot of time. I appreciate it's in the game. Overall, Endzone is fun, and I often got sucked in. Between managing special events with keeping my stockpiles filled, there's always something to do. I wish the builders were faster, but playing at 3 times speed is viable. Also, the color palette gets a little boring to look at. Still, Endzone is a competent city builder in a post-apocalyptic world where radiation adds some unique mechanics. But are you looking for live entertainment? No, not that kind. I have a Twitch now, so come check it out, and it's at twitch.tv/peppage. It's the same as the channel, and thank you very much for watching.